We're on page Tezayin, in the middle of the section that begins with Ois Ches. We were in the middle of discussing this union, so we have to kind of start again. 6 lines from the bottom, the line begins with the word atah mechase shel Musa. This is a quote. The specific line that we are learning is a quote from the Sefer Kabbalah, Avidas HaKedesh, where he says that in Ayin Soif there is also the capacity to relate and to affect a Baal Gvul, not only Bri Gvul, but Baal Gvul. That is, he says, a logical conclusion. Because since that in Soif is Shleimus, is completeness, if you say that he can only be effective in Gvul, and in Gvul he cannot, then you are limiting his completeness. He says he is not everywhere. So we discussed this yesterday. And now we're going to go further into the words of the Maimer. A quote from the Avidas HaKedesh that there is a Gvul drawn from Ayin Soif. And the point of this is, the more general point, the more general topic is that Atzilus is called a Mamutza. And as such, by definition, it possesses both qualities. The quality of Ayin Soif, and the quality of Gvul. And this is how it can fulfill its function as a Mamutza. So we quoted from Avidas HaKedesh. Okay, so we're going to continue now in the line against atah mechase shel Musa. Gvul hanin shemenu tchila. The first instance of Gvul that comes from Ayin Soif, hein hasfiris. That's the spheres in Atzilus. V'hakavona. When he says spheres, he intends to refer to al keilim Atzilus, and the keilim of the spheres, not the ohrot. Sheheim b'bchinas gvul, and that the keilim are in fact b'bchinas gvul, qualified as gvul, and he explains further. V'hainu, which means to say, sheheim b'geder, that they are within the parameters, within the, so to speak, the boundary of mahus b'chinas chochma b'chesed. That the reality of the keilim is identified by chochma b'chesed. Let me explain what he is emphasizing with these words. He pointed out, when we talk about the various capabilities in the human being, chesed and chochmah and whatever they are, initially, when we notice that a human being is so versatile, and he is able to perform all kinds of different things, so there is a certain level that we clearly see that these are separate functions. Like the hands are able to write and the feet cannot write. The mouth is able to speak and the ears cannot speak. So there it is clearly it is a definitive koyach that functions independently of everything else. But if you go up slightly higher, in terms of the human perception and relationship to speech and hearing and walking and talking and action with the hands, we don't say a person is speaking saying his mouth is speaking. It's not a correct reference. He is speaking. We don't say his ears are hearing, we say he is hearing. Not only that, we don't say his feet are walking, he is walking. And if we think in terms of the difference between saying his feet are walking and he is walking, we realize this is really the correct way to refer to it. A robot that also is able to walk and move, there it is going to say his feet are walking. His feet are activating independently to move in a certain fashion. A human being does not subscribe to this kind of definition. It's incorrect to say that. It is in his intellect and his nefesh that he relates, and this is something which we discussed in a very broad way, to the whole principle of moving from place to place and getting there via different methods. Therefore, if you understand that this is the truth, that all functions of the human being actually are rooted on a higher level and are inspired and directed by something that is not identified on a specific level of that action, and yet this action is performed by the foot and by the hand. We are therefore saying that his sechel, his intellect, is able to identify the principle of walking, and then the feet have to pick up on this identified function, and the feet walk automatically. If he wants to get something, the feet walk automatically. So what does the human being really identify with? In his own inner thought process, he's not identifying with moving the feet one step at a time and getting there. He's identified with going there, like we said yesterday. Going there. That is on a much higher level. And going there means, because he has a function, a purpose to get there, that's where he's going there. Not the action of getting there. So at that level, when we say going there, he's not speaking about a limited function. He's speaking on a much higher level in terms of the nefesh. He's going there because that's where he should be. Not even the activity that brings him there. This is true when we speak about what's called the ohr, the significance, how it emanates from the human being. But then, from that, actually are derived, come specific, very finite koiches. They're identifiable by the actual function, by the action. Thus, when we look at a human being, we see him walking, we see two very distant and distinct worlds. We see the world of of intellect, world of nefesh, and we see the world of guf. And somehow the world of nefesh descends and identifies with the world of guf. And they unite perfectly, so that the feet respond automatically when there is a place to go to. Although the feet have a very limited function. The feet, like we said yesterday, the feet are walking. The feet are not going there. The feet don't know the concept of going there. It makes a difference where they're going. They're just moving in a certain fashion that propels a person from place to place. Why he's going, that's the feet leave completely to his intellect to tell him where to go. They don't even question it. This is the principle that within the koyches hanefesh, within the human being, the koyches hanefesh of the human being, there is a nefesh which is really a neshama level and is not identified by the limited functions, and at the same time, this relates to koyches that are very much defined. And this is what enables a person to move from place to place in a very orderly, organized fashion, one step at a time. Coming back to what we were dealing with, the Atzilus, there's a similar in Atzilus. Atzilus, there is ohrot and keilim. Ohrot, this reflects the ohrot self. When we talk about, that's how we spoke about walking, which is on a much lower level, and yet we see that there's a big difference. I hope this will be discussed. There's a profound difference between saying I'm going there or I'm walking. It's a completely different statement. Going there is an intellectual statement. Walking is a physical statement. This is what the Rebbe is explaining, that Atzilus, there is the ohr, which is the bli gvul, which is represented just like in a human being. The going there is the intellect, which is representative of the nefesh, and walking is the keilim of that facilitate this movement within the physical realm, a world apart. The same it says in Atzilus. And this is what facilitates Atzilus to perform the function of a memutza. Atzilus really has ohrot that represent ohrot self. But then, these ohrot are mislabesh in keilim. And in keilim, there's a functional element identified in the keilim, specifically a specific function. The chokhmah, the ohrot that are in the keilim, the ohrot, this is an ohrot of ohrot self. But the keilim, they are identified, they are begatherum whose bechinas chokhmah v'chesed, they actually limited to the functional identity of what they are, chokhmah and chesed. Not as part of the broader, of the greater reality, but they're on a functional level. Okay, so now let's continue. At the end of the line that begins the Atzilus. That's 5 lines on the bottom. The Yikir Mitzius Bechinas Chochma V'Chesed, where the principle Mitzius is the presence of the Bechin of Chochma V'Chesed. Not the purpose and the accomplishment and so forth, the inspiration for it. But the actual mitzvah is the presence of the koyach chochmah chesed. This is hu behakelim dafka. That is exclusive in the keilim. That at the level of keilim, not at the level of ohrot. As we discussed lately a lot, keilim. May I point to that? We can identify what keilim are, where keilim begin. Do I need to repeat that, or we know where that is? I should repeat it?
About keilim. Yeah.
About keilim? Keilim is the means by which specific functions are identified within something which is in essentially believable. And we had many illustrations of that, and the simplest one is water in a cup. The water in the cup comes from a wellspring, from the undefined presence of water in the world. The water in the world, in the well springs and in the oceans, in the rivers and in lakes, are not defined water for drinking. They're beyond function. And then, as we said, we can take a cup, submerge it in the lake. At that time, it is part of the lake. But nevertheless, there is also already the potential for a keilim. So that once you take the keilim out of the lake, then this water that's in the keilim, in the cup, can be identified as drinking water. In other words, now you identified water only in a specific form, in a functional level. Not as water, but water on a functional level. This is the principle. It says that Metzius Chochmah v'Chesed. Chochmah v'Chesed, this is the functional element of the ohr. That is in the keilim. I'd like to go a little deeper into this, but I hope I don't go all this here. It's Chochmah v'Chesed. Let's continue. We'll have another chance. Okay, so this is keilim. They have specific function. And these are ohrot were identified by function. And this is called keilim. V'gam yesh hagbala b'ispasha shalahem. Furthermore, there is a hagbala, there is a limit. Besides that, there is a limit to their definition, but there's also how far they can reach and what they can perform. Like we discussed yesterday, that in everything in the world, there is a identifiable distance, how far something goes. Like we said, even in terms of time. So the Torah says that time What is the eternal level of time? 50 years. That's called eternity. And the reason this is called eternity, we are baffled by how can you call it eternity? Time is endless. That's a total mistake. It's a misunderstanding. Everything that exists, including time and space, exists by virtue of the godly definition for its existence. This is one of the great challenges of Emunah and of sechel and learning Chassidus, to understand that there is not an initial presence of a worldly type. Now, the Rebbe says in Tanya, this is what we're learning right now, that the physical existence of a rock is not persistent because a rock continues to be. It's persistent because the koya that creates it continues to create it.
Again, it's not persisting because of its rockiness, but because Hashem makes it like that. Not because of its own characteristics, but because it's made that.
Because Hashem continues to maintain it.
He maintains everything, but
yeah, maintains everything and maintains a rock as well. Continues to give it a presence.
And that's in contrast to thinking that it's because of its own feet, because of.
That's just. It grabbed a certain position and it has it. There is no such thing. There's no difference between that or me holding this up right there. And if I hold it for a year, it's not going to grab its place and be stationary automatically on its own.
How is this related to yoga? Eternity?
The same thing. So yovel, it's eternity within the parameters, worldly parameters. Because everything within world parameters, yovel is eternity. I explained yesterday. Because yovel, 50 is 7 times 7, which encompasses all possible activities, accomplishments. That's what time is about. This is what I wanted to say before, but maybe I'll say it now. Please understand, we are learning, we are perceiving things with our intellect. Not with our feet, with our hands, with our stomach. The intellect, the principal reality that the intellect subscribes to, is not about, oh, there's a rock, oh, that's real. No, the intellect does not buy that. There is no reason for the rock to be there. Therefore, I don't buy the fact it's there because it's there. There has to be a source. What is the source? The principle, motivation. There's the first being that creates it. Therefore, the rock is representing the will and the action of the motivation that persistently gives it a presence. In Chassidus and in Kabbalah, this is called Oisiyas HaDibur. Creation occurred. Creation represents the Dvar Hashem, These letters, as the Alter Rebbe explained from Hashem, these letters, they continue to maintain the existence of everything that was created. And should these letters depart, then this object would cease to be, not it would be destroyed. There would be nothing to destroy. Just as if I'm holding this, and I cease to hold it, am I destroying something? There's nothing to destroy.
From this fact that Hashem gives maintenance and sustenance to everything, how is that expressed in the Yovel?
That eternity also has a definitive meaning. There is no natural eternity, because there's no natural distance. Eternity is defined by what is the ultimate that can be accomplished in the world. Worldly parameters. And the God, it's a completely different thing. The Gemara says, Nun alofim yevelis are the world that there is. Nun alofim yevelis, 50,000 yevelis. Okay. But on the worldly level, this is called. That's what's called oilam. The oilam means eternity. On oilam means world. On the world level. World eternity. To the end of the world. Of his world.
So the intellect relates you to this concept of worldly eternity.
Mm-hmm.
It's an intellectual perception, not that it's obvious.
With your hands you will not find out. Just as when your feet walk, do the feet know that they are going someplace? What are you doing? I'm walking. It's the intellect that identifies the reality. And the intellect draws this reality from the principle that the intellect perceives, knows that there is the motivation that consequent means.
Rabbi, it senses it defines the reality, but it perceives it through the feet.
No. I'm not continuing this. No. The reality to the intellect is the motivation. It's the only way that he can identify, relate to anything.
Gentlemen.
This is the second call. Okay, we just want the gam. Okay, the gam. Yes, Hagbala v'Hispashus Shalahem. There is also a limit. Not only there is a definitive function, but there's a limit how far they can reach. Like we said, time itself has an eternity of time. Eternity of time is limited. Ukmei.
I missed that was inside?
Huh?
That was inside this eternity of time?
No. Hagbala v'Hispashus Shalahem. That's inside. Hagbala v'Hispashus Shalahem. Hagbala, limit in how far they can reach. So I give an example of time. And that is in Atzilus itself. This is called keilim. Chmei. Right, and yes, this is the end for today. Okay, this will be it for today.
What is the mistaken concept of eternity in the, as you see it says here that there's a
the worldly mistaken.
Yes.
It's very simple. It is when you relate the world not to your intellect.
Is it an